This is Dr. David Amakobe. I'm coming to you from African Wood Incorporated. On this channel, we talk about the impact individuals, groups, and structures and their processes have on behavior within organizations and within society. Today, we are going to be talking about unintended consequences of good intentions. So I will wait a little bit to see a few people coming in, and then we'll start. Meanwhile, you can just hold on with me completely until we have a quorum, then we'll start talking about basically the unintended consequences of good intentions. Today we're going to consider the fact that, surprise, surprise, Kenya had an election, and after a few arguments here and there, they had a very peaceful transfer of power, unlike some countries we know. So, and that's where our topic of discussion will arise from. So in another 2-3 minutes, we start. Thank you for coming on today. Like I said before, my name again is Dr. David Frederick Amakobe. Today we're going to discuss the unintended consequences of good intentions. As you know, Kenya had an election, peaceful election, and they had peaceful transfer of power. Good. We have a new president in place, and we have a new vice president in place. And that's a good thing, because it shows that democracy works in Kenya and in Africa, and a lot of more people could learn from it. And today our topic of discussion, like you know, we talk about the impact individuals, groups, structures and processes have on behavior within organizations. The topic of discussion arises out of good intentions. When you have a new job or you have a new position, you need to be able to do the things that you promise people to do. So the vice president in Kenya said that they will be giving contracts to ambassadors, and the ambassadors will have the responsibility to sell Kenyan products. And in 2 years, they'll revise and see whether the ambassadors have done a good job or not. And I'm going to be able to be discussing the unintended consequences of those good intentions, because obviously the new government wants the products that are produced in Kenya to be sold overseas to increase the foreign currency that a country gets. First of all, we have to see whether the country actually needs foreign exchange. But that aside, want to see whether tying the ambassador's job to being able to sell the products or services that the country has as of now will produce the results that the new government or the country needs. So the country right now does coffee, it does tea, it does a bit of pyrethrum, a bit of sisal, and tourism. Tying the responsibility of the ambassador to an increase in the sales of these products and services makes an assumption that there is an open market out there which is waiting to be tapped into. And the gist of this discussion is that there isn't really a market for coffee, for tea, for pyrethrum, for sisal, or for tourism, which is untapped. In the sense that these markets are already spoken for, and they are controlled by companies which initially started growing the crops in the colonial countries, which obviously Kenya was. So, like coffee is controlled by Nestles, Unilever has a large share of control of the tea market, and even cut flowers have big, large players who have control over them. So tying the job of the ambassador on the ability to negotiate or to increase the sales of these products is going to give too much power to the companies that own those markets to the foreign policy of the country. In the sense that, let's say for example, tea and coffee are actually discretionary products. You don't have to take coffee to live. You don't have to take tea to live. You don't have to go for an holiday in Kenya to live. So they are basically, first of all, discretionary, meaning the markets overseas don't need them to be able to be alive. Point number one. And to have products or services that are not required is a challenge. It's something that former colonies have to move out of, because when the colonizers came to colonize those countries, Kenya or those countries in Africa, they are coming for the land. They were coming to find land which they can grow those products because their markets required them. They did not grow those products because they were good for the countries where they were growing them. Point number one, that's for sure. Tea is not good for Kenya, okay? Coffee is not good for Kenya. Depending on tourism, is not really good for Kenya unless you have control over it. So I think 70 years after independence or so, we need to look at the reason, the original reason the country started growing coffee, or the country started growing tea, or the country started growing pyrethrum. If it was for the good of the country, that's a good thing. If it was for the good of the people who were in power at that time, maybe it's time to change and look at it again. So I think that